Hello, my crafting friends. I have 4 all-new primitive farmhouse winter DIYs that I'm really excited to share with you all, so come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primrose Lane Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting with me again in the future. And now, let's get right into these winter DIYs. For this first DIY, I'm going to be doing a little bit of upcycling and repurposing. I'm going to start off using this small tin can that is actually from like a miniature little can of soup. And this little snowman that I had, he originally was on a base, but the base snapped off a while back and he was broken. I wanted to give him a new lease on life. So I'm going to start off by giving my little tin can a coat of Waverly chalk paint and the color ink. We're going to turn this little guy into a little shelf sitter or a little snowman can that would fit on, say, like a tiered tray. Next, I'm going to take my Mod Podge, my matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to give this a nice little coat of my Mod Podge. We're going to do a little bit of grunging here on this little tin can. So once I get a layer of the Mod Podge on, I'm going to go in with some ground cinnamon. And I'm just going to start sprinkling the brown cinnamon all over this can, including the bottom. We want to give it that nice grunged, rustic, primitive look. Because we got a little primitive snowman here, we need to have a primitive can to match. And I'm just going to take my finger here and I'm going to use it to press my cinnamon down into that Mod Podge nice and good. Now, once I've got the cinnamon onto my liking, I'm going to go back over one more time with my Mod Podge, and I'm going to give this another full coat. And you might notice as you're doing this, the cinnamon might smear a little bit. It's more like almost like a cinnamon paste that it starts making, and it smears the cinnamon around, but that's okay. That's what we want. It's going to just add to this whole grunging effect. Now, once I've got the second layer of Mod Podge, I'm going to go back in with my cinnamon once more, and I'm just going to give a little bit of a sprinkling here and there. Not all over, not like I did before. I just want to add a little bit of sprinkling just on top. So when this dries, you're going to have the darker layer that's encased in the Mod Podge underneath, and then on the top, you'll have this other layer of cinnamon to kind of give it a two-tone look. And you can see here, once it's dried, how that turns out. Next, I'm just going to take a little piece of floral foam here, and I'm just going to hot glue it right down in my can. This was just a little scrap piece I had. And then I'm going to take some of this dried Spanish moss, hot glue it all over the top of the can to hide this floral foam that you might see. And I'm going to glue it and tuck it down in there real good. And give our little Spanish moss, give it a little bit of a haircut here. It's a little wild. Although I do like my Spanish moss to hang over just a little bit. So I'm just going to tuck it down in here real good and just trim off some of the more scraggly edges that are hanging over, but still leaving it hanging over that edge just a little bit. Once I get this done, I'm going to take my little snowman. It's already on this little stick from where it broke off the original base, and I'm just going to pop it right down in that can. Now, of course, you probably aren't going to find this exact same snowman. This was actually one that was made by some friends of mine. They have a little primitive shop we're used to here in town and sell it at craft fairs, and I absolutely adore this little guy. They do such amazing work. But thrift stores are actually a really good time this year to look for things like this as people take down their Christmas decorations. So many people just donate stuff because they don't want to store it away or pack it. So it's a really good time to actually find little things such as this, or maybe you have some Maybe you have an extra snowman laying around already. That would be perfect. Now I'm just going to take my jute twine here, wrap it around my can twice, and tie it off in a knot here just to embellish the front of this can a little bit. I'm going to use a little dab of hot glue just to kind of hold that down and keep the ties facing the direction I want. And that's it. Easy peasy. And now what was broken is whole again. And as cute as ever. For this project, I'm going to be using this roll of black felt from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to have to wipe off all the little extra Spanish moss that was kind of got on it from the last project. I must have missed some of it. Oops. Anyways, I'm going to take it. I'm just going to fold over my felt here. We're going to be using this to make a little shelf sitter no-sew snowman hat. And you can really make these in any size you want. But for this one, I folded it over about 7 inches. And I'm going to take it just using my hot glue. I'm going to start going right around the edges. Just pressing that down firmly so that it adheres really well. Once that is adhered, I'm just going to flip my felt inside out. And as you can see, this will be the top of our little snowman's hat. And I want to stuff it. And I'm going to be using just some plastic bags because this is a great way to reuse those never-ending accumulating plastic bags. But if you don't have those or you don't want to use those, you can always just grab some pillow stuffing or some polyfill fiber and stuff the top of her hat. And I'm not going to fill this all the way to the bottom. I'm not trying to make like an Abraham Lincoln stovepipe hat. I've got a little extra here on the bottom. I'm going to stuff this about 3/4 of the way. So you can see not quite all the way. Once I get it to the height I want, I'm just going to use my hot glue and finish sealing that off right there at the bottom. So you can kind of see what it looks like here. It's hard to see on that black on the camera a little bit. Now for the base of the brim of his hat, I'm going to take a piece of cardboard. I'm just going to kind of measure an oval around. It wasn't perfect. As you can see, I folded it in half here. I eyeballed it and it wasn't too bad, but I'm just going to kind of trim it up here, even it up a little bit. Like I said, I'm kind of an eyeballing kind of girl. So once I get the brim of my hat all even, I'm just going to take some more of the felt and hot glue it right over top of the cardboard. And then I'm just going to flip this over, cut off some of the extra, and then I'm just going to start gluing my felt around the bottom of the brim of the hat. Now here on the corners, there's quite a bit of felt that was kind of excess. So when you try to glue it down, it makes a large kind of bulge, which we didn't want. So I'm just cutting off some of that excess felt so that it lays a little more flush, a little more flat, a little nicer, more neat looking. And I'm just going to slowly gather this around and hot glue it down so that it fits nice and tight around the edge of the brim of our hat. And any excess, just trim off. Now once I have that all glued down, you can see what that's going to look like. And on the back, it's not the prettiest. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of my black felt here and I'm just going to cut it out slightly smaller than the brim of my hat in an oval shape and hot glue that down around that bottom. That way it hides any of those kind of ugly edges or mess and just makes it look a little more neat and finished on the bottom. This is completely just preference. I like to have the backs and bottoms of my projects all look finished as well, but hey, if that doesn't bother you, then you could just totally skip this step. You see, it just makes it look a little more finished and neat. Now on the top of my hat, I have this little bit of extra here. I'm just going to trim off below where I glued my hat shut. And I'm just going to kind of give it a squish, kind of shape it a little bit and flatten that bottom a little bit. Just kind of tuck that up and under so it's a little more flat on the bottom. Gives me a surface to glue on. And then I'm going to use a pretty generous amount of hot glue here on the bottom of this hat and press it right down on my little cardboard brim. And our hat is taking shape. Now around the base of my hat here, I'm going to take this cream and maroon gingham homespun fabric, and I ripped it's probably about an inch and a half thick strip of it. And I'm just going to put a little hot glue on the back to secure it and wrap it right around to the front and just give it a tie, kind of to the side a little bit. Add a little more glue just to make sure that fabric stays in place. And I'm going to trim my tails down. I do want them to hang over just a little bit, but not quite that long. Maybe a couple inches or so. Next, I'm going to take this piece of just little piece of pine pick that I had, and I'm going to snap off a couple pieces of this little jingle bell and rusty star pick, and I'm just going to kind of twist these two together. We're going to use this to embellish the hat. And you could use any kind of pine or that you have on hand. This is just one that I had, a little piece that I had left over, and I thought it'd be perfect for this hat. So I'm going to take my pine and my little rusty bell and star pick, and I'm going to just tuck it right down in behind the knot that I tied in the fabric there and secure it using some hot glue. And the last thing I'm going to do after I get my pine secured is I'm going to take one of my little paper tags that I get off of Amazon, and with my fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm going to write "Let It Snow," and I kind of crumpled it up and distressed it with my Waverly Antique Wax. And I do apologize. I thought I had hit record when I did that. Apparently I did not. But if you've watched me before, you've seen me do it. And in fact, you'll probably see me do it later in this video on another project. But then I'm going to take and I'm going to just sprinkle my hat with a little bit of cinnamon to finish it off. Give it a little bit of that grunge primitive look and make it smell nice. And here is the completed project. This next DIY, I'm going to be using one of these little plastic candy jars that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And I have this other little stuffed snowman. I just had him in my stash. I had several of these. I think I bought several of them years ago. They're just made out of felt. And I needed something to do with them. And I thought this would be perfect. So I'm just going to take some Spanish moss, and I'm just going to start off by filling the bottom of my little canister here with Spanish moss. This is going to be kind of like our little nest that we put our snowman in. We're going to make like a little snowman in a jar. So once I get my moss in, I'm just going to take my snowman and I'm just going to pop him right down into my little canister here. Just kind of arrange him till he looks good. Next, I'm going to take these little red pip berries. This was part of a pick and I just kind of ripped it apart. And I'm just going to stuff these in down and around my little snowman. I'm going to put several on each side, just kind of tuck them in and around till it looks good to me. You could really use any kind of snowman. If you have like a little glass snowman, that would be really cute too. Just a little snowman in a jar. Now for the lid, I'm going to take and I'm going to snip off this little handle that's on the top. I'm just using my wire cutters and just snipping it right off. It comes off really, really easy. And then I'm going to take some of my homespun fabric and I'm going to go in once again with this cream and gingham. It kind of matches the fabric that's on his hat, just a little bit bigger checks. And I'm just going to rip a square. I'm going to kind of give this the look of like when you put fabric over top of a canning jar. That's kind of the look I was going for with this. So I'm going to take and add some hot glue to the very top and I'm going to hot glue my fabric right down over top of it. Now the top's glued down, I'm going to take my thicker jute twine. This is the twine I get from Walmart. And I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right here in the back. And I'm just going to wrap it around the edge, kind of securing and pulling that fabric down tight around the top, making it look like it's held on with the twine. Now, before I go any further, I am going to wrap that around again, but I want to go under now that I have the first layer of that secured. I want to go underneath and add a little hot glue right to the edge of the rim to glue the sides of that fabric down underneath. So we have the gathered look on the top from where the twine went around, but it's also secured with glue. And then I'm going to continue around one more time with my twine. Now, these sides, I wanted to kind of even this up a little bit because if you look, there are certain sides that hang over a little longer than the others. So I'm just going to rip off some of this excess, make it a little more even all the way around on each side. We don't want it hanging over too far on some of the edges. Next, I'm going to take my little paper tag here that I get off of Amazon, and I'm going to once again take my fine tip Sharpie marker. This is the part I forgot to record on the last little snowman hat. And I'm just going to write winter welcome on this little tag. Then I'm going to scrunch it up, and I'm going to use my Waverly antique wax that I get from Walmart to just go around and distress it, give it that aged paper look. Then I'm going to take my thinner jute twine and I'm just going to tie just a simple little shoestring bow here. And I'm going to hot glue my tag kind of just tucked right under off to the side on my twine that's on the rim of my jar, and I'm going to add the bow right over top of the hole in the tag to hide it. And that's it for this project. For this last DIY, I'm going to be using just this little mason jar and with the lid ring. And you can even find these at the Dollar Tree, or if you don't have a jar, you could even reuse like a pickle jar or something else, just a large jar. And I'm going to take some pine pieces and a couple of pine cones as well as some Spanish moss. And I'm just going to take and start filling my jar with all of these little different pieces. I'm going to start off putting a little bit of pine down on the bottom, adding a pine cone, and then a little bit of Spanish moss in and around, just kind of layering it in and around. Just kind of placing stuff wherever it looks kind of good to me. I'm just going to use my little pen to kind of stuff my Spanish moss down in there a little bit. A wide mouth jar would have actually been a lot easier for this project. It was hard with the standard mouth jar to fit my hand down in there, but that's okay. The pen worked out good just to help poke it down in there. I'm also going to take some of these little pip berries. They're cream and maroon, and they were all part of a pick, and I just kind of broke them apart. And I'm also going to kind of layer those in and around, just kind of stick them in down the jar as well, wherever I think they look good. And I'm just going to keep layering between my pine cones, my pip berries, and my Spanish moss to fill this little jar up. Just a cute little winter jar, stuffed full of little winter goodies, pine cones, pine berries. So you can see what it looks like when you get all of it filled up in there. Now for the lid, I'm going to take some homespun fabric, and I'm using this dark navy blue and this kind of cream colored homespun fabric, and I'm just going to kind of measure out a square that'll fit over top of this lid. I'm going to fray my other little edges because 2 of them were the corners so they weren't ripped, so I want to fray those to match. Okay, y'all, so when I got to the end of this, I decided that this jar would have been really cute if it had a little set of fairy lights in it. And so I grabbed these little star ones that I had from the Dollar Tree, and I went to start adding them, but yep. There was no way to get those lights down in there without having to take all of my stuff back out of my jar. So guys, that's why I'm here, to make the mistakes so you don't have to. If you want to add lights to your jar, start adding them from the beginning when you're layering them. Otherwise, well, you'll be like me and have to take everything back out of your jar to fit your lights down and in. But once I got them in and everything added back in, this is what it looked like. Let me just take and add my battery pack right to the top here, and I'm going to take a little piece of pine and just pop right over the top here. It's easy to access, easy to flip them on and off. Then I'm just going to add my lid. And I'm just going to place the fabric right over top of the lid. Not gluing it, nothing like that, just placing it right over and then using the ring to secure it. Just pull it tight and secure it down. Next, I'm going to go with my little paper tags from Amazon, and using my fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm going to write Winter Blessings on this tag. Then I'm going to give it a crumple up and use my Waverly Antique Wax to distress it to give it that nice aged vintage look. Now going in with my thicker jute twine here, I'm just going to wrap it around the band of my ball jar lid here and tie it off in a knot, kind of to the side a little bit. And here, as you can see, you can still easily take this whole lid off to access this battery pack, to flip your lights on and off, or to change your batteries. So all the decorations of the lid won't interfere with you getting in and out of the jar. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue to my paper tag here, and I'm going to hot glue it just right underneath that knot. And I want to make sure that that tag is glued to the rim, and that way when I twist that rim off to open it, the tag will move with it and it won't cause any interference with opening that jar. And here it is, our little winter blessings jar. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop down and hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and craft with me again in the future. And don't forget to follow me on socials. And until next time, God bless. Happy crafting.